Hey, so I am here and I am doing your Woman Full of Soul episode for today. I promised I would go live about a couple different topics. So I'm going to do that now. It's just going to take me 1 minute to pull up whatever I've already said about that because it's an expansion on what I've already said. So for all of you that didn't see what I already said, I have to state what that is, and then I have to expand on that. So just give me 1 minute. I know this is probably one of the most awkward episodes of our Woman Full of Soul, but it is what it is right now during the pandemic. It's just that simple. So there's two different topics here that we're gonna talk about. The first one is going to be respect. The second one is all about mother. It's all about mother. So and really being in your feminine identity and motherhood. Before that, we're going to talk about respect, like respect for women, but then also, which we've touched on in the past in another episode, but respect for women and also female leadership. And then we're going into mother and all about the mother. Okay. So it's going to be 1 minute. It's going to be a second while I make sure that I say to you what I've already said in case you haven't seen it. So one of the huge things is, and this goes in business and this goes in personal realms. When we're talking about respect, we're talking about respect for every single individual, no matter who they are, no matter what, no matter what. Right. So this whole dynamic and question and quote and saying comes up about how it's not that, it's respect is earned, not given. That is the biggest lie anyone has ever believed. One of the biggest lies anyone has ever believed. Do not tell yourself that. That's the biggest lie on the face of the planet. Okay. No. Respect is given. It is not earned. Respect is an inherent right that every single person has on the face of the planet because they were created in the image and likeness of God. Respect was given when they were created by God. By God. God created people out of respect and in respect for human life, both. God created human beings to show God's own creativity in a positive and beautiful way. In a positive and beautiful way. God created human beings out of respect for God's own dreams to create human beings. So it goes even deeper than just give respect, right? God created every human being out of respect. God respected God's self enough to say yes to God's creativity to create human beings in God's image and likeness. The truth. I mean, God respected God's self enough. If you look at entrepreneurs, if you look at, and you're probably like, where's she going with this? If you look at entrepreneurs and you look at individuals who say yes out of respect for themselves on what they know they are called to do, or what they know God's dreams or goals are for their life, they respect themselves enough to say yes to that. That is exactly who God is. God respected God's self enough to say yes to creating what God envisioned, which was humanity, the globe and humanity. Those are two of the things among multiple things, right? And technically we're not a thing. We're people. right? We're not to be seen as a thing. Humanity is a classification all in itself, and a group of people, a group, right, all in itself. Created in the image and likeness of God. Created in the image and likeness of God. So when we're talking about respect, there's a lot that goes back and forth in relation to men and women respecting each other and what that looks like and the truth of all of that, and if they really do or don't or whatever. And there's also this whole dynamic about leadership, female leadership, and whether women are respected in leadership or not respected in leadership. I'm not here to debate that question. I'm really not, but I am here to state something very clear that goes back to female leadership. And it would be the same with male leadership, but I'm sure male leadership has already heard this. And I know we've already heard it as females about male leadership, right? But the same thing applies to female leadership also. So just give me 1 minute. There are many people who have advocated for female leadership positions across the globe, not just here in the United States, not just in your office, right? There are many countries, many people, many groups who have advocated for female leadership. And you even see the UN advocating for equality, right? Part of this idea of female leadership is that women are being valued and respected and cherished and appreciated for the work that they do and being paid for it, right? And if they're not paid for it, if they're volunteering for it or whatever, that they're still honored, valued, and respected in their role, whatever they are doing in their leadership position. However, right now, it is about equaling out everything on the face of the planet, not just in this one area, on the face of the planet. It's about equaling out the masculine and the feminine on the face of this planet. That's part of what this whole struggle that everyone on the face of the planet has been going through since before the pandemic and during the pandemic. Because if you look at business, if you look at all the things that we do, all of the things that we do as a human being, those are considered masculine. If you look at nature and the way the world is, its own existence in itself, its being, right? The globe's being, that is the feminine. That is the feminine. So throughout this whole time, through the pandemic and even before, it has been a calling back to that equality, a calling back to that equilibrium, a calling back to that balance that was lacking. That's how we ended up having a pandemic, because it was lacking. It was not present anymore. That balance was so off kilter. That's what happened, right? So let me go back because there's more. So it is about women being valued, the feminine being valued and respected and cherished and appreciated for the work that they do in the essence of who they are, in the essence of their being, just like in the essence of the earth's being and existence, just as in all of humanity's essence, being, and existence, versus always doing, always striving, always building, always pushing and going and forcing a way forward in a negative way. But there's a call back to, in the example of humanity, in the example of human beings, there is a call back to, when we're talking about female leadership, there is a call back to your true being and existence, right? Not a fabricated one, not a false one, not one that makes up lies, not one that abuses their power. Okay, this goes for women as well as men. We've already said it. The whole globe has said it in relation to men. The whole globe has not said there are also women in leadership positions who abuse their power that should not be abusing their power. They should not be. Right, but it exists. It has existed. This isn't new. In certain ways, this isn't new. And I'm usually not one to say this, but because of the many ways we have seen people respond or react throughout the pandemic, and even the way I've seen high school girls treat each other, right? I can say that there has, in the past, there are traits, there are certain things where women in leadership or women in whatever role they're in abuse their power. And that's not okay either. To take this even further, and I'm stating what I've already said over this past week to other people, not on this live. When women are going into a role of leadership, if they are abusing their power, they should not be in that leadership position. They should not advance to go and collect $500. Okay, and I'm saying that because women have. I've seen it. Throughout the last 2 years, I've seen it. The new rising female leaders need to be aware and cautious of this. They need to be really present. They need to be really opened in their heart, spirit, and mind and not allow it to go down a path like that. They cannot be getting into a leadership position because they try to throw someone else under the bus. They cannot get into a leadership position by accusing men of things that they have done when they haven't done it, or of misconduct when they haven't committed it, or accusing men of things that haven't truly happened. I have seen this in different cases over the years, not just the last 2 years, over the years, where women have done this to get their way in politics, to get their way into that area where they wanted more control or they wanted more power. That's not the way to get power. That's not even real power. That's manipulation. It's not power. Manipulation isn't power at all. It's a total falsehood. It's a total falsehood. And that's not what women are about. It's just not. And that's not how humans were created to be. Of course, we always have a choice. Of course. Of course. But that is not who God advocates for us to be. That is not real female leadership. It's not. It is a breach of office. It is a breach of duty. And it is a breach and a violation against colleagues. And it makes for a dirty work environment, or it makes for dirty politics. That's not it. That's not it. And that goes for either any realm of humanity. Whether you're male, female, transgender, whatever you want to label yourself as or call yourself or see your gender as, okay? So I'm being very clear here. That is not the way anyone is to be operating. That is not based in human dignity. That is not based in human value and worth. And that's an inherent human dignity, value, and worth, just as we were created in respect and love. What makes a female leader is not that she can make up lies or throw someone under the bus. Or what is her political gain? Or even what she wants? Or even if she dishonors and disrespects men all the time, just as that would also not make a male a leader. That does not make a great male leader. What makes a great female leader is that she has respect for all people and can see through everything to speak God's truth about human dignity, value, and worth, among the many other divinely honored areas and truths that every person has and has a right to, because they were created with it by God. What women expect for themselves, what women expect for themselves to receive from other people, they must also give to men. Just as what men respect to receive from other people, they must also give to women. There cannot be a double standard. There cannot be one. That does not make for a healthy environment. It does not make for a healthy atmosphere. It does not make for a healthy globe. It doesn't. Every single person on the face of this planet is a gift from God. Every person. And I've said this in the last, one of the last Women Full of Soul episodes that I did. Every single person is a gift from God. They have human dignity, value, and respect and worth from God. It was given to them by God, and they were created with it. We are to see every human being on the face of this planet as a gift. If people have not learned anything throughout the pandemic, it should be that. It should be that. Every single person here is a gift. Every single life that is still here is a gift. And every single life here deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Every single life. There should not be the double standards. No one deserves to be treated that way. And I've seen it in all industries. And I know other people have too. I've also seen it in every level of politics and in almost every single level of the church and other religious organizations. But this piece right here is one of the things that we are called to solve. And one of the things the pandemic made sure to call out, made sure to bring fully present so that we can deal with it now and not keep going in the wrong direction. And believe me, we are still in the pandemic. It is not over yet. It is not over until every single person on the face of this planet has a vaccine in front of them that they can say yes or no to, or that is available to them to receive. So that's really the part on female leadership and respect and where they come in together. The other really important thing, which I want to say is separate, but some people would see it as related and the same. It's everything about mother. It's everything about motherhood. When you're working through the pandemic, when you're working through this part of, like, especially these phases on what to do next, where to focus on, what needs to be accomplished now, right? Like all of these pieces, and there has been many pieces. If you go back to motherhood and the idea of motherhood and the true essence of Mother Nature, you can solve it. You can solve it. Because part of the problem and part of how it came into existence is the fact that we went against it for so long. That we went against Mother Nature. That we hurt Mother Nature. That we hurt the feminine in the world as a human race. That many aspects of the feminine have been denied to people. Women have been denied many, many things throughout this time. Pre-pandemic and pandemic, we've seen it come up in many countries, many injustices against women in many countries. This is all part of the work through of the pandemic. This is part of, us being called to be better human beings, to exist in a better way in coexistence with nature and with each other. That's part of what all of this, everything that's happening right now is about. There were multiple times when this was said last year too. This isn't my first year saying this, right? There were many conversations had last year where this was said. It wasn't said in this type of forum, but now it is, because it's really coming front and center, where now we can really work through it and come up with a beautiful way of existing with each other. And this part has yet to be solved. That's why the pandemic isn't over. One of the reasons. So really, please take that to heart. And I'm saying that on, many levels, but really from deep within my soul, because we've witnessed it ourselves. We've witnessed it ourselves. A whole other aspect of this is motherhood and children. Motherhood and children, right? There is a whole piece here where the aspect of motherhood and children has been denied. Denied. And that isn't God. That is so not God. On any level. God created people to procreate. God created animals to procreate. He created a way to continue life. For certain species to continue to exist, right? He wasn't like, I'm only creating one of you, so goodbye. That's not what God did. God created a way for animals to procreate and to continue to exist. God also created a way for human beings to continue to exist. So even in this part of the pandemic, that all needs to be looked at also. It's not something that can just be pushed under the rug. It's not. When a pandemic comes, it causes you to stop and pause. It causes you to look at all of those things that are threatening life, all of the things that are threatening life, because a pandemic threatens life to the extreme. So you have to look at both. It's not just solving this one little piece that's a virus. It's an evaluation of all the things that are threatening life and existence, especially after so many lives have been lost. So many. And that's a reflection in humanity, yes, but that has been happening this whole time in nature, the whole time. And humanity chose to not care. Overall, chose to not care. When God created all of it. When God created all of it. All of the beauty and the grace of all of it. All of the intricacies, all of the nuances, all of the little details. So this is a whole other piece to it. It's about generating life. And undoing the wrongs of the past. In nature and elsewhere. So there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more gentleness and tenderness to it than what I've just said. When it comes to motherhood and the child aspect, and I'm even so when I'm saying motherhood and the child aspect, I'm referring to human beings, but I'm also referring to nature and all of the animals in existence, right? All of the species in existence in Mother Nature. When you look at that and you look at all the intricacies of that, you can see the beauty. You can see the divineness of God played out. You can stand in awe and wonder and be amazed at how perfect God has created whatever God has created. How glorious it is. Even to the point of how the human body functions, or even to the point of all of the colors in the sky, or to the point of all of the stripes on a zebra, and no zebra has exactly the same stripes. That is God's beauty, and that's God's grace. That God calls us to see every day and to honor and appreciate and respect every day, because God created that out of honor and respect of God's self, and in honor of respect what God's self created. You don't see anywhere in any sacred scripture, and this is going to be kind of profane, but you don't see anywhere in any sacred scripture where God says, God damn, I created a piece of shit. God never says that in scripture. Never. It's not in any piece of scripture. Not one piece. God created and saw that it was good because it was an image of God. It was a reflection of God. So as we're moving forward through this time, um, it's good to take the time to actually see that and value that and appreciate other people. Part of this whole pandemic going on pause thing, and even now we're still not fully open anywhere across the globe. It's the slowing down to actually recognize God saying, I'm here. I've been here this whole time. I'm right here. If you would just look, if you would just look, if you would just trust, if you would just know of the beauty that I've made, of the goodness that I've made. And if you would just look, you would know more of who I am. From every zebra and every zebra stripe to every person on the face of the planet. So it's a little bit more complex than just a virus. And I've said this over the last 2 years, since everything has happened, I've said the same thing. It's not just about a virus. It's not. The virus points back to all the other things that need to be solved that weren't solved yet, that need to be fixed and corrected, but also to all the beauty and grace that's here and in place and where God is present. So even, and I'll even give you this example, and I know that the person I had the conversation with today would be fine with it. The boys have had some issues at their school. They have not had problems, but other people at their school have. Part of it is because of the pandemic, of course, because children are now going back to school after they were doing remote learning. Of course, it's part of that. But part of it is also the fact that people have forgotten what respect and value and worth actually are. Especially females among females. And this is not new. This problem has existed for a long time. Females to female and female to male. It has existed for a long time. It's even written about in sacred scripture, right? I will pit daughter against mother or mother against daughter, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Why do you think God really says that? Why do you think that's really written? Just to say, I will do that or that will happen? No. It's the afterthought that comes after that. I will do that, but also I will give you the way through it, because that's not the deepest point. The deeper point is I have also created you with compassion. I have also created you with cooperation and understanding to work through any problem that you have, any misunderstanding that you have, any disagreement that you have, any conflict that you have, any issue that you have, because that is who God is. God doesn't forsake. God doesn't. Even with Christ on the cross, he said, my God, why did you forsake me? And when he gave up his spirit, he realized God had never forsaken him. He realized he was completing the mission God had asked him to complete, and that he was not forsaken. He may have felt forsaken, but he recognized that he was not. The bigger point, bringing this fully forward, is about harmony. It goes back to unity and harmony. Part of the reason why the pandemic happened was because things were not in harmony. If we were in harmony with nature, if we were in harmony with each other, everything that happened during the pandemic across the globe wouldn't have happened. Harmony, when harmony is created, problems are solved and they dissipate and they disappear. Obstacles are overcome. And yes, we did do that through the pandemic, but we were definitely not in harmony with nature during the time of the pandemic. And we definitely were not in harmony with each other. And those are two of the major things that needed to be worked through throughout this time and are still being worked out. And what does that way look like? And that is part of the new way for everyone to exist. Because we respect each other enough, because we value each other enough, because we honor each other enough, even if it's not perfect. Just like no child is perfect. They try to be. They make mistakes all the time. They do the best that they can, right? But they are perfect enough to be them and created in God's image and likeness, and to be offered compassion, kindness, and understanding too, and love and joy. And all the beautiful things that God has promised every single person and has in God's self for every single person. I truly don't believe when God created people, God was like, I'm going to create people that I hate. Hate is not a part of God. God is all wonderful, all counselor, right? All victorious, all glorious. All counselor doesn't include hate. Sorry, doesn't. All counselor doesn't include throwing people under the bus so that you can get ahead. Or using your own power for your own political gain. So I guess I'm going to leave it at that. That's your woman full of soul moment today. I promised I would elaborate a little bit further on that piece about respect and female leadership, but also on motherhood and on really about family also, because there's a motherhood and family dimension to all of it too. We are supposed to be coexisting with other people and be one human family on the globe. God created all of us as God's children. So we are one human family on a global dimension, of course. That means we respect each other. We give respect to other people because it was first given to us and because we were created out of respect, out of value. God's value for what God created, God's heart that went into the creation of us, God's brilliance that went into the creation of us, God's beauty and grace that went into the creation of us. So we are selling ourselves, humanity is selling ourselves way short if we settle for less than that. Truth. Let alone in our own families, in our own relationships, in our own communication with other people, in the way we treat other people, or we allow or don't allow them to treat us. I'm not saying don't respect yourself. You should respect yourself. You should honor and value and respect yourself because God created you out of that. But also, it should be the same for every other person. You should have that same respect and value for every other person. Do people do things to harm it? Do people do things to hurt it? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Do people purposely do things to try to take it away? Yes, they do. But it never removes the fact that God first gave it and created you out of it, and every other human being with it and out of it. And of course, that includes all children. So I'm going to leave you with that. You can feel free to leave a comment below. Know of our prayers for all of you. We are continuing to work through all the things that we normally work through. And I'm sure most of you received our newsletter. If not, you can sign up for our newsletter on our website, www.thegrenchusfoundation.org. If you go right to the homepage, newsletter sign up box pops up. Sign up for our newsletter there and you'll get your weekly updates. Know of our prayers, stay safe, ciao, and arrivederci.